So we have just witnessed the most amazing performance of Indian cricket team in a World Cup this year, and it was such an amazing moment. I witnessed the finals in from the stadium. Just the last part, the end was the disappointing part. But apart from that, the campaign has been fantastic. But did you observe one thing during the entire World Cup scenario? A lot of players were cramping in the field. A lot of players were suffering from cramps while playing, while batting, while bowling, while fielding, and a lot of players were in discomfort. This is something that happens a lot of time but always goes unnoticed. And this is something that creates a lot of problems, not just for the players but also for the team, because at the end of the day, if the player is not able to perform at his best, the team is gonna lose. And if you are an athlete, you are a coach, you need to know what are the reasons for why these athletes, even at the pro level, are cramping so badly, and what are the solutions for it. This is the episode, my friend, when I'm going to discuss all about cramping. I'm going to discuss why people, why athletes, even at the elite level, cramp so much, even when everything is controlled, and what are the solutions for it, and how to make sure that you don't cramp anymore. That's about this episode, my friend. As always, Vinay here, lecturer of exercise science at National Strength and Conditioning Association India, a body transformation and a performance coach. Here to make your transformation and performance journey easier, faster, and enjoyable. And in today's episode, we are going to discuss why are even elite athletes cramping, and what are the reasons for it, and how to solve it so that you don't cramp anymore and perform at your best. Now, when we talk about cramping, my friend, first thing that we should know is cramping is something that is not really studied that much, because how the researches and studies take place. There are two groups, one control group and one is the test group. And suppose we are testing a supplement, or we are testing a diet or a strength training program. What we do is, the control group is a group that follows everything, just not the specific protocol. Now let's take an example about whey protein. Now if we have to evaluate the efficacy of whey protein, or how does whey protein affect strength and body composition, that means fat free mass, fat mass, muscle mass, and all of the stuff. Okay, and how does it affect the hunger levels, craving levels, everything. Okay, so there would be two groups, one would be the control group and one would be the test group. Okay, the nutrition and the training plan for both of the groups would be same. Just the test group would be adding in whey protein into their nutrition regimen. Okay, and they would be following the same diet plan, same workout plan, same everything. And after, suppose, let's say 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, or a specific time period, we will again test their strength, we would test their body weight, we would test their body composition and everything, and we would get the differences, that this was the control group, these were the results, this was the test group, these were the results, this was the starting point, this was the end point. And this gives us a clear idea that what happened with the whey protein group. Is the whey protein actually worth Is it actually effective, or is it not? But when we talk about cramps, now it is very difficult to study cramps. Now you tell me, who would volunteer for a study where he has to cramp too hard, just for the researchers to find out that what are the reasons behind him cramping so hard. That is a very difficult scenario, and that's why the volunteers are very less. That's why the studies have not been as highly regulated as all of the other studies that we have. So how the studies regarding cramping were actually done, where the researchers, the scientists, all of them monitored the entire leagues and lot of athletes, and then they saw how many athletes were actually cramping in the matches. Then they checked out their fitness levels, they checked out their hydration levels, and what are the things that could have actually got them the cramps that they actually suffered, what was the intensity of their cramps. Then they added in some protocols in there, hydration protocols, training protocols, stretching protocols, all of these things, and then they saw whether it was effective or whether it wasn't effective. So these are the researches, these are the studies from which I would be speaking. Okay, because at the end of the day, my friend, there has to be some research behind why I'm making this podcast. Because why I'm making this podcast in the first place, because all of these information has to come with the context. Okay, if there is no context, no information is true, my friend. That's the primary reason why I started this podcast, because it is very difficult to tell all of this in a 60-second reel or a 30-second TikTok video or a YouTube short. It is very, very difficult, and in those 30-60 seconds you don't actually understand the concept. I want you to understand the concept from its root, so that tomorrow when you are in a situation, you are able to understand the root and then solve the problem, because we cannot solve a problem which we don't actually know about. Okay, so that's the reason why I want you to watch the entire episode. You can watch this on 1.25x speed or even 1.5x speed if you are able to understand whatever I'm saying and everything. So that's on you, but this is the reason, my friend. Understand the context, then understand the reason, then understand the solutions, so that tomorrow when you come in the similar scenario, you would be in a better position to solve that problem by yourself. You won't need anyone else to solve that problem for you. Okay, so that is why the studies on the cramps and everything are slightly limited. Okay, but this episode is coming from the research that I have done, the certifications, everything. I'm a certified strength and conditioning specialist, I'm a lecturer. I have listened to over 1000 episode of the podcast from PhDs, from doctors, from researchers, from the people who have more experience in this field than my actual age. So that all of these things have led to this podcast. Before this podcast also, I have researched a lot, saw all of the research papers and everything, not the Instagram post or the Google articles or anything, the actual research articles, and then coming up with all of the things that we are going to dive into. Okay, so research backed episode, nothing, I'm not going to speak anything out of my personal experience or anything, but I would be always adding in something that has actually worked for me as an athlete, as I've been a national level cricketer, state level basketball player. I've been into the groups, I've been into the shoes of the athletes, and I am a coach. I'm coaching athletes who are playing at the highest level. I'm coaching people who are coaching people. So that that is the background from which you are getting your information from, so be rest assured about the information that you're getting. Okay, so diving straight into the episode, my friend, there are two primary reasons out of the studies that we actually have, out of the things that have been proven. There are two primary reasons why athletes or people actually cramp while playing a sport. Number one is exercise associated muscle cramps. So EAMC, basically exercise associated muscle cramps. And the number two is dehydration or electrolyte imbalances. These are the two primary and the most studied reasons behind cramps. Now, exercise associated muscle cramps, when we talk about this is basically when we are excessively fatigued, when we are tired, or when we are pushing ourselves to a limit where our body and our muscles are not used to. Okay, this is when we cramp. Okay, then second thing is we haven't got used to the intensities that we are playing. Now our training is at a completely different level and our performance is at a completely different level. That is something when we could start cramping, and the problems of cramping could arise. Number two is when we are practicing for very shorter duration and playing for very longer duration, that could also cause cramps, and that also would come under the exercise associated muscle cramp kind of a category. Okay, then number two is due to dehydration and electrolyte imbalance. Now, our body, just like I told you, my friend, in the previous episodes as well, our body is kind of a cyborg. We work on chemical signals and we also work on electrical signals as well. So there is actual electricity in our body. Brain could actually produce some electricity, and that's how we are a cyborg, a combination of a robot and a human. So that's what we actually are. So what happens is, in our body there are electrolytes. Electrolytes are some minerals that carry electrical signals via nerve in our body. The electrolytes are actually, they get charged electrically and they help with carrying over the electrical charge from the nerves and everything, and helps with the transmission of all of these things. So there are the chemical signals in our body are hormones and the receptors and all of those things. just like that we have some electrical messengers and electrical carriers as well. So that is the part where if we lack electrolytes in our body, especially sodium, potassium, these are the two of the most important electrolytes when we talk about cramps specifically. Okay, apart from this, magnesium is also very very important, calcium is also very very important, and there is a list of electrolytes that are very important for the overall functioning of our body. But when we talk specifically about cramps, we are talking about sodium, potassium, chloride. Okay, these are the major ones that we would be covering about. Okay, so what happens is when water is electrical charger, okay, not electrical charger, good conductor of electricity basically. So this is where the electrical currents could pass in our body as well. So when we are dehydrated, we could face problems of cramping. When we have insufficient electrolytes in the body, in the blood, there could be chances of cramps and everything. So these are the two primary cases where we could cramp or we could face problems of cramping. So I've listed down a list of scenarios which could aggravate the problem, as in this could supercharge the problem or create more problems in the future. So these are the few things that we should avoid at any cost, or we should take into consideration, that these are the things that we are not doing if we want to stay away from crampings and everything. So what cramps are basically, it's a hyperexcitation of our muscle spindles and inhibition of muscle relaxants that are also called as GTOs. And what this does is this causes a muscle to forcefully contract and stay contracted for more than the normal durations. Okay, so hyperexcitations of muscle spindle basically means that there are two proprioceptors in our muscles or body, and basically muscles and the tendon that it is attached to. So muscle spindle and Golgi tendon organelle are the proprioceptors. Muscle spindles are hyper excited. That means the proprioceptors in our muscle get a signal to contract. Okay, and hyper excitation of muscle spindle, so basically they get a signal to contract forcefully. And the other proprioceptor, the GTO, this is inhibited, means they do not get a signal to relax the muscles. Okay, so what actually happens is the muscle gets contracted and stays contracted for more than the normal durations. So that's why whenever we get a cramp in our hamstring or in our calf, what happens is muscle is contracted too hard, and it causes pain, it causes discomfort. And then when we just stretch it out, or drink some water with electrolytes and everything, then the muscle just relaxes a little bit, and still we still have a little bit of a pain even after the cramp is gone. So this is actually what happens when somebody is cramping. So avoid these things if you want to stay away from muscle cramping. Number one is excessive fatigue. Excessive fatigue is very simple phenomenon, my friend. If you are excessively fatigued, your body is tired, your body would lack resources, your body gets tired mentally, physically, the CNS is getting tired and everything. And then cramps could be one of the signal to your body that stop, my dear friend, stop. We are not used to training at this intensity, or playing for this longer, or this isn't the intensity that our body is used to. And if we keep on doing the same stuff over and over again, we might get injured and we might even die. So please stop. So these are the signals. Basically our body is just trying to communicate with us. Okay, when we face acidity or something, it is just our body's signal of trying to tell us that this food isn't right for you, or this lifestyle that you are leading isn't right for you, this is something that you need to stop. So it is just our body's way of communicating with us. It is just that we don't understand the signals from our body really well. Okay, so when we are excessively fatigued and we are cramping, it could just be a sign from our body that we are not used to doing things at this level. Please stop. Okay, excessive fatigue is number one. Number two is high temperatures. Now playing at higher temperatures, if you would notice the similarities between cricket world cup and the players who were cramping, majority of them were cramping at Wankhede. Wankhede is in Mumbai, and Mumbai is still, winters are going on, but the heat is heat in the afternoons is just like summer times. Okay, and it always is all the 12 months. Even if it is raining, on the days it is not raining, the sun is still there and the heat is still there. So the chances of cramping, the atmosphere is humid, the temperatures are high, and there are higher chances of cramps during this period as well. Okay, so playing at higher temperatures is something that could lead to cramps as well, because of a lot of water loss. With water loss, a lot of sodium is lost via the sweat and everything, and this could lead to cramps. Okay, then high rate of sweating. High rate of sweating is the third one. High rate of sweating, again, whenever we sweating is our body's internal mechanism to cool itself. Okay, what happens is when our body sweats, when our body is too heated, the body just sweats, and due to the sweats, due to the heat transfer via convection, yes, convection. Due to the heat transfer via convection, the body actually cools down, but with the water the body also loses sodium chloride, NaCl, or all of the other electrolytes as well. And due to this, the actual sodium levels or the electrolyte levels in the body just goes down, and when it goes down, chances of cramps just goes up by a lot. Okay, hydration is also a performance decrementer, or what we could say. It causes reduction in performance as well. Even 2 to 5% of dehydration has shown to decrease the performance by a significant level. Okay, so make sure that you are hydrating yourself well enough. And hydration is not just water. I would be talking about hydration specifically at the later part of this episode, but yes, excessive sweating is one of the reasons why we cramp. Okay, talking about the next one, high intensity activity for prolonged duration. Just like I talked about excessive fatigue, why do we get excessively fatigued? Because either the intensity of the activity is too high, or we are doing the activity for prolonged duration. Okay, due to this we could be excessively fatigued. Due to excessive fatigue, it could raise the body temperature as well. Due to raising body temperature, we could sweat excessively as well. So all of these things are interconnected, my friend. Our body is not just a means our body does not work in isolation. Everything is interrelated with something or the other. Your nutrition is related with your training is related to your recovery, or we could say your nutrition affects your training affects your recovery again affects your hunger and craving signals. It would affect your nutrition, and that then again everything is interconnected. Okay, so whenever we want to fix anything in our body, anything when it comes to our transformation or performance or lifestyle or anything, there is no one thing that would fix everything. We have to fix something everywhere, and that would give us the best possible results. Okay, everything would affect everything, my friend. Okay, so this is the reason number 4 why we cramp. Okay, reason number 5 is energy depletion. Energy depletion is when this comes into picture, specifically when the athletes have to not just focus on playing better, but they also want to focus on looking better. Now looking better and playing better are two different aspects, my friend. Okay, when you want to look better, you want to cut down on the extra body fat that we have. When we have to perform better, we need some extra fuel inside our body so that we don't get depleted. Okay, there would be very less athletes who would be playing on a single digit body fat. Okay, although they post their pictures with abs and everything, but then again, when athletes, especially in a sport like cricket, which is a long duration sport, the shortest format of the sport is like 20 overs. Okay, 20 over match goes on for like 3 hours. So 3 hours, out of those 3 hours, at least 1.5 hours you have to be on the field while you're fielding. Okay, if you are a batsman, you have opened the batting, you played for 20 overs, then again you have to field for like 20 overs, so 3 hours you are onto the field. Long duration sport, there are very less chances that you would go out, you would eat food, and the food will get digested, and then the food will give you energy, and that energy will translate into your performance, or that energy will turn out into usable form of energy that you would be using into the sport then and there itself. Okay, so for that we need some fuel stored inside our body in the form of glycogen, muscle glycogen, liver glycogen, and body fat as well. So athletes playing a long duration sport should not be focusing on the aesthetic component, should not be playing at lower than 10% body fat. 12 to 15% body fat is still doable, but then again nutrition comes into picture a lot. Carbohydrates for athletes is like a boon. Okay, so they should never think about aesthetic first, they should think about performance first, and then build a lifestyle, build a nutrition routine in such a way where they look better as well. So that is the program that I am specifically working on, called as aesthetic athlete. So that is something that I'm trying to find out the sweet spot where I would even look better and even perform better. And that spot is something that I have actually found. I'm just working around, peeling the layers and going deep into it, and trying to think about scenarios, what could get off, what could get me wrong, what could get me right, what would get me better results, and what would be the thing that would work for even the other people, other athletes as well. So this is something that I want to specifically cover. Energy depletion would get you depleted, will get you to perform at sub maximal levels and not at your best. So don't worry about aesthetics when you actually want to perform better. You don't have to perform by taking off your t-shirts and everything. Okay, so make sure that you are performing at your best, and if your performance is at your best without compromising your performance, make sure that your lifestyle and your nutrition and your recovery is monitored in such a way that you also look better. Okay, so that's the part. Excessive fatigue, energy depletion could also lead to muscle cramps. Okay, last but not the least is diuretics. Diuretics are substances like caffeine, substances like, there are a lot of substances out there that would remove water from your body. Okay, so these are the category of substances, or what you could say, components called as diuretics. Okay, bodybuilders or people who want to make a weight category specifically, now just like we have bodybuilders, we have power lifters, we have wrestlers, and all of these athletes who want to make up or play in a weight category. So just like below 65 kgs, below 70 kgs, below 75 kgs, what they do is they take these diuretics to remove some excess water from their body and then make the weight category, and then again load upon carbs and water afterwards. Okay, so this diuretic is not required for outdoor sports like cricket, which are played in hot sun, which are played for longer durations. Okay, what these could actually do is this would remove the water from your body, and along with water this would also remove a lot of electrolytes from your body, and this could actually lead to cramps, this could actually lead to dehydration, this could actually lead to electrolyte imbalances, and finally you would be cramping in the feet. Okay, so these are the things that we should be aware of. Okay, coffee is again a performance enhancer, but then again the dosage in which we take the coffee, the duration, the period, what we could say, how early you take the coffee before your game, what are the other strategies that you use around coffee are also very important. Okay, are you hydrating well enough after taking the coffee? Is the coffee specifically taken to dehydrate you or work as a diuretic or as a performance enhancer? That these are all of the small basic things that would make a very big of an impact, my friend. Okay, so these were the 6 things that could lead to cramps, and if you want to stay away from cramps, make sure that you are avoiding or staying away from these 6 things. Number 1 was excessive fatigue, number 2 was high temperatures, number 3 was high rate of sweating, number 4 was high intensity for prolonged duration, number 5 was energy depletion, and number 6 was diuretics. Okay, if we are staying away from this, what are the things that could help us? Okay, what is the solution, what are the things that we should actually do if we want to stay away from cramps and everything? So these are the things, but keep in mind, my friend, prevention is the best cure. When we talk about almost everything, but specifically about cramps, prevention is the best cure. Once you are cramping onto the field, my friend, there are very less things that we could do, and the pain after the cramps and everything would also stay for a quite bit. Okay, once the cramps have come, then there are very less things that you could do. Okay, but if you do things to prevent cramps in the first place, that's the best things that you could do, that's the thing that you should be focusing on. Okay, once you've got cramps, once you are already down with cramps and everything, then you have actually lost control. Then you won't actually be in control, the cramps would be in control of you. Okay, so these are the things that we should be specifically doing if we want to avoid cramps and we want to not go down on the field while we are playing and play at our best. So number one is appropriate training. Why I am saying this is because the intensity of the sport, the climate of, not going into the climate because that is the second point, but the intensity and the duration of the sport should be matched when we are training. Okay, majority of the times what happens is our training does not sync with the intensity and the duration of the sport. Now cricket is a long duration sport, just like we discussed earlier. The intensity of cricket is also kind of a high low depending upon what you are doing. If you are a fast bowler, you are a spinner, you are a batsman, you are a wicket keeper, the things would change. If you are an all rounder, the things would change. Okay, your training intensity should match with the intensity of the sport majority of the times. Now I'm not talking specifically about strength training. Now strength training cannot match with the intensity and duration of your sport, because again you cannot work out for like 3 hours and expect that my body would be ready for the sport and everything. The training, talking about the sport specific training as well as the endurance training as well as the strength training, so all of these things should prepare your body cumulatively as a whole for the sport that you are trying to perform at. Okay, when we would be talking about test match cricket is again the longest form of cricket. Okay, training would slightly be different when we are preparing for test match cricket. Preparing for one day cricket would look slightly different than test match cricket, and preparing for a T20 would look a lot different than preparing for ODIs and the test match crickets. So the training should be monitored accordingly, and the training should be in such a way where our body is ready to perform at its best when we are playing that specific sport, okay, or that specific format. Okay, so that is number one. So appropriate training is something that we should always be focusing on. Appropriate training, I'm not just talking about strength training, I'm talking about training as a whole. Strength training plus if you are doing endurance stuff, plus if you are doing all of the sport specific skill training stuff, and all of the ground based activities, everything comes under one roof called as training. Okay, then point number two, acclimatization to environment and game intensities. Now acclimatization to game environment and the game intensity is very very important, because if you are playing cricket in Indian summers, my friend, Indian summers are like extreme, especially if we talk about Mumbai, extreme summers. But throughout the entire India is also kind of a hot country. Okay, not in terms of hot people but in terms of weather, my friend. So hot overall country according to the weather. So we need to get acclimatized to these conditions. But if we are playing cricket in suppose England, or if we are playing cricket in suppose Australia, in their winters are a lot different than the situations here in India. Okay, then again playing cricket in India in December, start of January, India is slightly on the colder side. So here playing at this point would also be different, and we would need to be acclimatized to these environments. Playing in the other parts of the world, now playing in now T20 World Cup is scheduled in US and West Indies in the first half, or basically June July of next year. Okay, so players would be going at least 15 to 30 days prior there, and they would be getting acclimatized to the environment as well. Then the training intensities are also matched according to the game intensities. Okay, T20 is kind of a high intensity sport as compared to test match and the ODI cricket. So the training intensity would change according to the sport that we are playing, according to the format that we are playing. So getting acclimatized would get your body ready, to again adjust the temperature, body temperature accordingly, adjust the heart rate accordingly, and all of those things need to change. And that would happen when we get acclimatized to the environment and to the game intensities. Okay, that was number two. Number three was fluid and electrolyte balance. Just like we discussed, two of the primary reason that causes muscle cramps are exercise induced or exercise associated muscle cramps, and number two was dehydration and electrolyte imbalances. So First thing we discussed was appropriate training. Second thing we discussed was getting acclimatized to environments and the game intensities. And the third and the most important point is fluid and electrolyte imbalances, my friend. Now, fluid and electrolyte imbalances, just like we discussed earlier, are something that would cause a lot of problems, but that should be replenished well, that should be stored well. If you have been into cricket from a long time, like from 2000s or early 2000s, you would be knowing one example from Sachin Tendulkar when he was batting overnight in a test match cricket. He had set an alarm for like every 2 hours. Every 2 hours, he would wake up, he would drink water, and then he would go to sleep again. He would wake up, he would drink water, and he would go to sleep again because he has batted for an entire day, and the next day also he had to bat. So he was making his body ready so that he does not cramp tomorrow. He has enough fluids in his body, he's hydrated well enough, he has got enough electrolytes in the body so that he would not be cramping tomorrow. And because our body can store a lot of resources inside, my friend. Okay, fat is just its energy storing mechanism. So that is also something that is especially helpful for athletes who are playing long duration sports. Okay, fat is not something that is there on the body to make you look ugly or make you look fat. Fat is a safety mechanism for our body, my friend. It is there to keep you alive, but the body hasn't adapted in such a way where it understands that Zomato, Swiggy, Uber Eats are very easily available. We have fridge, we have all of the Swiggy, Instamart, and everything, which could get us like thousands and thousands of calories delivered within like 10 to 15 minutes. So the body hasn't understood that, the body hasn't, that's why the body hasn't stopped storing fat inside the body. But that's what it is. Maybe it would take 1,000 years or something to signal our body to not not store that much of a fat in the body, but till the next 1,000 years, this is what it is. Okay, so yeah, drinking enough fluids, and not just fluids but with electrolytes, is something that we should be specifically taking a note of before we go out to play. Okay, next point, carb loading and replenishment. Okay, carbohydrates, my friend, are, what I would say is, I'm not getting the word, but they are inappropriately blamed, my friend. Carbohydrates are like the boon for athletes. If you want to perform at your best, you cannot perform at your best without carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are very, very essential when we talk about performance enhancement. And if you are playing a high intensity sport, you need carbohydrates. Even if you are playing a low intensity sport, you still need carbohydrates. But if your goal is to perform at higher intensity, shorter duration, even moderate durations and everything, carbohydrates are must that you should include in your nutrition, and kind of more in quantities as compared to someone who is on a fat loss diet or anything. Because again, fat loss is a completely different goal, my friend. Just like I told you, aesthetics and athletics are two different goals altogether. Okay, we cannot combine the two, although I am trying to, but that is still, I am trying to combine both of those. Carbohydrates are not something that is essential nutrient for survival. Okay, carbohydrate is just an energy source for our body, and we can survive even if we don't include, like if we even consume 0 grams of carbohydrate, still we could survive, still we could sustain, and we would not face a lot of problems to survive. But if the goal is to perform at our best, if the goal is to win that 1% every day in our sport, the goal is to cross like that 1 millisecond mark, because in Olympics and everything, running events and everything, people miss medals just because of millisecond differences. Okay, swimming, running, weightlifting, a lot of these things, just minor differences, minor just lapse of concentration and focus could make them lose out on medals, my friend. So when we are talking about high performance stuff, carbohydrates are very, very important. Okay, when we would be talking about transformation, weight loss, and people who are sedentary overall, they are working professionals, they are sitting in a cubicle, sitting on a chair for majority part of their day, for them carbohydrates are not as essential. They could also survive and even thrive even without carbohydrates or with minimum amount of carbohydrates. But when we are talking about athletes, carbohydrates are super essential. So we need to load up on carbohydrates before play, and we also need to replenish the carbohydrates even after we are done playing. Okay, because our body could store carbohydrates in our body in the form of glycogen is stored in our liver, in our blood, and in our muscles. Okay, but the stores are limited. Beyond this, if there are more carbohydrates going inside the body, the spillover effect would just get them stored as fats in our body. But fat is also just a stored form of energy, so body would utilize fat for fuel as well on lower intensity sports, on longer duration sport. When the intensity is basically lower, the body could tap into our fat stores for energy as well. So that's what fats are for on our body. But then again, glucose is something that the body would use first, and then it would switch the energy sources and then go on to the fats. And the even body could even break down our muscles and bones and form glucose from them. The process is called as gluconeogenesis, where the body could form glucose from non-glucose compounds as well. So it could even break down protein and it could make glucose out of it, because glucose is the primary fuel source for our body. Okay, that is why eating carbohydrates is very, very important. Okay, eat carbohydrates before your games and even after you are done playing, to replenish all of the glycogen stores that have become empty. Okay, that was point number 4. Talking about point number 5, this is specifically the point on the onset of cramps, when you are actually suffering from cramps, when you are actually down on the field by cramps. Okay, this the 4 points were for prevention, the 5th point is for cure. Okay, 4 points for prevention were appropriate training. Number 2 was acclimatization to the environment and to the game intensities. Number 3 was fluid and electrolyte balance. Number 4 was carb loading and replenishment. Okay, then number 5, talking about number 5, this is on the onset of cramping, when you are actually down by cramps. Okay, passive stretching to the affected muscles, contracting the antagonist, gentle massage. These are the 3 things that we could do. Okay, now passive stretching to the affected muscle, agonist muscle is called as the working muscle or the target muscles. Okay, agonist, stretching of the agonist or the cramping muscle. Now if we are cramping on our hamstrings, what you we generally see on the cricket field is the athlete is lying on his back, and the physio or the other player just raise their one leg and just put the or press the toes of their feet down and just give them a mild stretch to their hamstrings. Okay, when we give a passive stretch, this is called as passive stretching. There are two kind of stretchings: active stretching and passive stretching. Active stretching is where you are stretching by yourself without any external means or people or equipments. That's called as active stretching. So just like you are sitting on the floor and just trying to touch your toes and everything, that's called as active stretching. Passive stretching is where somebody else is helping you with the stretch, or you are using some bands or some machines or some things. That is a passive stretching. So here we would not be able to actively stretch out our muscles because we are already in pain, we are already in discomfort. So passive stretching to the targeted muscle is something that would help us relieve cramps. Number 2, this is again going into the mechanism of this. What has actually happened is the hyperexcitation of muscle spindle. If you are a coach, if you are a physio, if you are a trainer, you would understand the terminologies. If you are not any of the 3 I just mentioned, don't worry about this, just go through it. Just listen to this and this will add in some food for your thought. Okay, muscle spindles have got hyperexcitation, so they are contracted. The GTOs, Golgi tendon organelle, are slightly inhibited. So what happens when we do a stretch is there is tension that is built on the tendons, that GTOs are proprioceptors in the tendons. The tendons will signal the muscle to relax. This is how passive stretching would help with relieving the cramps, with relieving the contractions in the muscles. Okay, that is why passive stretch works. Number 2 is massage, just gentle massage. Just move out the leg a little bit, just grab the leg like this, hamstring, quadricep, and just give a gentle massage, to the hamstring, and there would be blood circulation, there would be fluid transfer, there would be better nerve signaling, there would be better hydration in that specific region, and the cramps would just get relieved within some time. Okay, and then number 3 is activate or contract the antagonist. Contract or activate the antagonist means if the hamstring is cramping, what is the opposite muscle to the hamstring? Is quadricep. Okay, squeeze the quadricep. When we squeeze the quadricep, what happens is there is a phenomenon called as reciprocal inhibition. Okay, reciprocal inhibition, what does that mean is the antagonist muscle, if it is contracted, the agonist muscle would relax itself because of the build up tension. Okay, when we are contracting a bicep, the tricep actually relaxes because it has to stretch, it has to undergo stretch when the bicep is contracting. Same thing happens with when we are doing a tricep push down exercise, the tricep is getting contracted, and that's why the bicep has to relax, it has got no other choice. Okay, so when we have to relax the hamstring, what we could also do is to activate or to contract the quadricep muscle. Okay, that would also help with relieving the pain on the hamstring muscle. Okay, these are the three ways that we could use on the onset of cramps to just relieve the cramps then and there itself. The next one is to again drink water infused with electrolytes and some sugars as well. So these are the four ways that we could do on the onset of cramps to make sure that the cramps go away super soon. Okay, and we are not in pain and discomfort for a very long time. Okay, we or our athletes, of course. Okay, and then talking about hydration specifically, my friend, hydration is a topic that I specifically want to cover because this has got tremendous results for our athletes, for our coaches who are helping or working with their athletes. I specifically had a coach who was there for a course, and he was working with a fast bowler, and he had a problem that my fast bowler balls at like 120 125 kilometers per hour in his first spell, but when it comes into the second spell, he's just bowling around 115 118 kilometers per hour. So this is a massive drop in the speed of the bowler. So I just recommended him to change his hydration protocol, and this just changed the game for him. His first spell speed was like 125 126 kilometers per hour, second spell was also very close to this, and the third spell when he came to ball was just around 121 122. So he was bowling all the three spell at almost the same speed. So this is like a game changer, my friend. Just simple change in hydration protocol has changed the entire game for him. Why not do it? Why not? Let's follow it. Okay, so the hydration is very simple, my friend. For optimal hydration, we don't just need water. Actually, if we would just drink a lot of water, we would face problem called as hyponatremia. Okay, what happens is, this is the situation where the body has a lot of fluids but very less electrolytes, or specifically sodium in our body. Okay, so this also could cause problem for us. Okay, hyponatremia is actually a problem where the body lacks electrolytes but has a lot of water inside. Okay, so this is actually a problem as well. So don't just mindlessly drink a lot of water thinking that it will help you with hydration. Okay, optimal hydration, you need to drink hypotonic solutions. Hypotonic solution, again, there are three kind of solutions: hypotonic, isotonic, hypertonic. I know I'm going into a lot of detail, but the actual physios, the actual coaches, the actual athletes who should know this would definitely benefit from this. And even if you are not into this, knowing about these stuff just over your head, just having this at the back of your mind would help you to guide somebody else, or this would actually make you understand that send them to me. Make you understand that I would be the right person to just guide them along. Okay, so that, just jokes aside, my friend, but yes, optimal hydration is water plus electrolytes plus sugar, hypotonic solution. This will help you with optimal hydration. So simple protocol, not going into a lot of science, just giving you the practically direct to apply tip is: take 1 liter of water and just add in the entire electrol powder, the ORS electrol solution, the black and the white and the green one that we get at the medical stores. Okay, don't go for any ORS or ORSL, or there are a lot of scammy products out there as well. Just go for the white and the green one, rectangle packing, the electrol solution. Okay, that is the WHO recommended, and that's the best one. Okay, 1 liter water, the entire packet of the ORS or electrol solution, and 10 to 15 grams of sugar or glucon D into it. That's it. That's sorted for the hydration part. This 1 liter of water would become a hypotonic solution for you. Hypotonic solution, isotonic and hypertonic, basically there are differences in the osmolarity, or what we could say, the tonicity, salinity of the water and inside our body as well. So basically what happens is, when we put resins, manuka, Okay, when we put those in water overnight, what happens the next day is they just get swollen up and they absorb a lot of water and just they get swollen up. Same thing happens with our cells as well. When the cells are in a hypotonic solution, the cells absorb a lot of water and the hydration is actually at max. Okay, when we are consuming isotonic solutions, the differences in the, what do you say, the sodium levels or the salinity of the solution, means the water and the cells, is almost the same, and that's why the uptake of water into the cell is not that much but better than the hypertonic solution. Hypertonic solution, basically the cell will lose out water and the water will actually come out of the cell. So small things, my friend, these are the, that is why everyone needs a coach, my friend. There is always something that we don't know. Okay, and we don't know what we don't know until we know what we don't know. This is the fundamental on which my life my life has like my life stands on this phenomenon. I have learned so much and I'm still learning so much. Okay, when we learn so much, we just understand that there is a lot of things that we still don't know, and that is the pursuit that I am chasing, my friend. And this is the pursuit I want you to be a part of, and I want to teach you, I want to share all of these things with you so that you also learn along with me. That's what, my friend, that's what simple protocol: 1 liter of water, one entire electrolyte solution, and 10 to 15 grams of glucon D or even the simple sugar at your home will work. That's it. That's the simple protocol that you need for optimal hydration. What you could do is, depending upon the intensity of the sport, you could start loading carbohydrates just 1 or 2 days prior to your event. Start with the water, like 1 liter of water a day, and do it for 2 days before the game day, before the event, and on the game day as well. Throughout your spell, throughout your sport, just keep sipping on the water. That's it. That's it. Now, I would have given you a specific protocol if I would have been working with you on a very personal level to just level up your game, because all of these things require monitoring, my friend. I cannot give you like any random tips and tricks and you could expect it to work. It does not work like that. That's why we need a lot of monitoring. We need to assess the performance. If we did this protocol, if this was the input, what was the output? Okay, if we need to change the output, we need to change the input. If we want the same output, we need to keep the same input. So that's how the entire coaching philosophy and the coaching process works. And that's why even Virat Kohli has coaches, even Arnold had coaches, even the best athletes in the world have coaches, because these are the small things. When an athlete or a coach is trying to do something for himself or trying to do something at his level best, he cannot spend that much time and efforts going into these many minor details, and that's why they have a person who is an expert in all of these and will take care of all of these, so that they could focus on their sport, so that they could focus on their own stuff. Okay, that's why every pro player or coaches also need coaches, and this is how they could benefit from. That's it, my friend. That was all from today's episode, from why are all the cricketers cramping and what are the solutions for it. Hope you enjoyed today's episode and learned something new out of it. And if you learned something new out of it, do share it on your social medias. Drop a comment. I love watching your comments. I've been getting a lot of comments these days from you. I love that so much. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much for listening it till the end. And thank you so much. That's it. That's it. Vinay here, signing off. Bye.